All right, guys, welcome back. This is the financial calculations template Google Sheet doc that I have to share with you. So what you're going to do down below, you'll find the link. And right as you get going, you're going to hit File and make a copy. And you're going to copy this to your own Google Drive. So any changes you make will be yours and yours alone. This link links to the global master template. So you got to make a copy and then you can start adjusting outside of that, okay? So this first section, I'm just going to walk you through what this looks like. So everything that's highlighted in red are the things that you can change, okay? Everything else are attached to formulas and stuff like that. You don't really, if you touch those, you could start to mess up the calculations. So really what we have here is we have monthly income. And sometimes it's hard because it's like, well, do I do net monthly income or gross monthly income? How do I work that out? Like, do I do before tax, after tax? The easiest way is to do it after tax. And if we can save some money on taxes, then that will just add into your net monthly amount. But we just kind of factor out taxes and we're looking at net monthly income. Now you can change that. You can decide to do gross income and you can factor in your tax bill and everything like that. And that ends up being another ratio here. But this is the way I set it up now. You can totally customize it however you want. This is not the end all be all. You can do whatever works for you best, okay? But everything in red here, you can alter and it'll do it all by itself. So if you have net monthly income of, let's say, $7,500, as you can see, these change. So right here, we have our survival ratio. These are the expenses. So you're going to list out your survival expenses, okay? And the corresponding amount. It keeps a tally and it totals the survival expenses there at the bottom, and it gives you your survival ratio. Okay, do you see how that works? So add in here, if I add in here something like life insurance, let's say it's $100 a month, then that changes the total expenses. It changes the income after survival expenses and the survival ratio. Okay, see how that works? So with the survival ratio, obviously, the lower this number is, the better off you are going to be. If your survival ratio is 80%, meaning that 80% of your income goes to survival, then you're going to have very, very, very limited resources to be able to build wealth. It's going to be extremely difficult for you. Same with Thrive. Once you add in Thrival, if that's 100% of your income just to live every month, then you are not going to get very far, okay? So if that's the case, you essentially have two options or a combination of the two. Number one, decrease expenses. Number two, increase income. So the way I would look at this is, let's say rent, for example, or your mortgage or whatever that looks like. Let's say it's $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month to get the nice in rent, to get the nice apartment right in the best part of town, right by all the places that you like to go to. And it's just upscale. You don't need it, but you really, really like it, okay? Well, if this pushes your ratio up too high and you say, hey, shoot, my survival ratio is too high, it doesn't leave me enough money to really build wealth. This is one of the expenses you could come in, for example, and adjust. And you say, hey, you know what? I can get an apartment for half the cost, still have everything I need to be totally happy. Maybe I'm not in the exact location I want to be, or maybe it's not as big as I want it to be, or what have you, but I'm able to drop this to 1,500. So my survival ratio went from 67 to 47, and that gives me a whole lot more money to put towards building wealth and building the life that I want to live. Those are some of the conversations you can have with yourself, okay? The same would go for like an auto loan, right? You might be out here having an $850 a month payment on your auto because you got just the car of your dreams, okay? Well, if you look at this and you decide your survival ratio is too high, this could be one of the expenses you cut and you say, hey, you know what? I don't need this car right now. And obviously, if having this car is really putting my future, the future that I want, in jeopardy, then I could probably do without it. So maybe you are able to drop that, by more than half to $400 a month. And what does that do? So lowering expenses is certainly one way to go. Now, there's only so far you can go. Some of you might say, hey, I'm already at the bare minimum. Like we are just literally scraping by, eating beans and rice every day. And that's where we're at. Then you don't need to focus on cutting costs anymore. You should really focus on income. So check this out really quick. So we've got a survival ratio here, just based on some example numbers that I threw in there, a survival ratio of about 48%. So you could do a lot of work and reduce those expenses and get the survival ratio down, or you could improve your skills, get a better job, get a raise, do a side hustle, whatever it is that you need to do to increase your monthly income. So let's say it increases to $9,000 a month. Boom, all of a sudden you drop from 48% to 40% in the survival ratio, which is an extra $1,500 a month. Okay, that's a pretty big difference. So lowering expenses, increasing income is the way to make this work. So the lower the survival ratio, the better. Obviously, you have to live now, so you have to be happy. If you're going to be miserable doing that, then you're probably spending too little. So as long as you're clear on your goals for now and in the future, spend what you think. I mean, this is up to you. This is your formula. This is not a static ratio like save 20% of your income. It's not that. Okay. This is really what are your give and take? What are the trade-offs you're willing to make? All right. So let's keep going through this. So that's survival ratio. So totals the expenses here and says, hey, we've got this much income after survival. Okay, great. Now let's move over here. The Thrival ratio. So these are the things that are not absolutely essential that you spend, but you would like to because it makes your life better, right? Like I like to go out and eat at restaurants, or I want to buy some more clothes or shoes. I really like shoes or whatever. Or I want to start saving money towards vacations every month, or I want to go to the movies, or I want to save for a down payment for a new home. That all comes into this ratio, the Thrival ratio. So once those are added up, you put in those expenses, you add up the totals, and here we go. Total Thrival is $1,875, and then we add up survival and Thrival, and we have our total living expenses of $5,440. So our income, subtract those total expenses, and we have $3,560 left over. So our Thrival ratio right now is 60%. That's pretty dang good. It's really good. So 60%. Next is the giving ratio. So maybe I give some money to my church. I want to set some aside for friends and family if they need help. Maybe somebody is struggling right now or has medical bills. Maybe there's a random GoFundMe that pops up with somebody you know and they need help. Whatever that might happen to be, let's just say that I set aside around $700 a month to give to wherever I decide. Okay, so I add those up, the amounts. So my giving expenses total is $700. Add that to my living expenses, and we've got $6,140. Subtract the total income again, this number right here. Total income from that number, and we've got $2,860 left. That is all the cash that we have to go build our wealth and build our future. Now, next we come over here to our future ratio. And basically, we're just going to put in how are we going to allocate this. So we have the total allocated right here. This keeps track of these numbers. So let's say I want to increase this to $600 a month. So it's going to keep track of the total we've allocated and how much we have left to allocate. So we still have $1,860 to go. So maybe I'm going to open up a brokerage account and I'm going to start putting in $500 a month. Oh man, we still got money. Okay, scratch that. I'm doing $1,000 a month. Whatever that ends up being for you. This amount, you have to, for future ratio, you have to tell it where it's going. Okay, you have to give it its job. If we leave it like this and you go and set up, okay, you go to your 401k website, set it up, boom, you go to your Roth IRA, you set up an automatic monthly transfer, boom, crypto, same thing, whatever, investment account, same thing. If you have $860 left each month and you don't decide where it's going to go, it's probably going to be spent. Okay, it's not a bad thing, but you just have to realize if you are setting this aside for building wealth, then do it. If you feel like you're doing enough already to build wealth and you actually want to spend that much, maybe we come over here and say, hey, I'm going to add that $860 to my savings for a new home so I can get there faster. I can save up for that down payment more quickly. So I'm going to do $1,560. So all of a sudden my Thrival ratio goes up, right? My future ratio goes down to 22%, left to allocate zero. So you're already saving $2,000. Left to allocate zero because you decide, hey, I actually have a short-term goal that I want to allocate that to. So saving for a new home. So if you go through that, then you can look at your ratio. So survival, we've got 40%. Thrival is 70 plus our giving. And that means 22% to allocate towards wealth building in the future. Now, obviously, everybody is going to have their own route and their own mix of what that looks like. But stocks or crypto or real estate or starting a business, whatever it is, the future ratio is going to building your wealth over the long term. Okay. This is where you put your money to work for you. So that pretty much sums up the ratios here. So go ahead and, like I said, click the link below this video, hit file, make a copy, save a copy to your own Google Drive, and then adjust all of these expenses and figure out what your ratios are right now. Just get a clean understanding of where you are. Maybe your survival ratio is 71%. Thrival all of a sudden is 126, right? Obviously, that's not going to work. Future ratio is -40. That doesn't work either. So you have to start adjusting these expenses and zeroing these things out to get to the place where you actually are even. But this is where you can decide how all that works, and you can really get a good understanding and decide if that is working for you. Okay. So we're going to stop this video here. Go ahead and go through this exercise and figure out your different ratios, really dive into the details and the numbers, and then have a conversation. If you're married, have a conversation with your spouse and talk through some things and say, hey, let's look at our expenses and say, how are we? Do we feel good about this? Are these too high? Is there something we can do to change this? What about our income? Is there something we can do to increase our income that we're not thinking of? Should I be looking for a new job, or should I be focusing on my skills to improve and increase my value to my current company and get a raise? Should I go negotiate a promotion or a raise in salary? All types of things. This will spark those types of conversations and show you what changes you need to make in order for these numbers to make the most sense and to give you the ability to build wealth. So go ahead and run through that, and we will see you in the next video.
Clarity around your numbers leads to better decisions.